The gym was alive with excitement and chatter, the music vibrating through the walls and the lights casting a soft glow over the room. Everyone had been looking forward to this night for weeks, and the air was thick with energy. For some, it was a chance to dress up, to dance, and to enjoy a night with friends. For others, it was a way to show off, to mingle, and to fit in with the crowd. But for one new student, the night felt different, filled with a mix of anticipation and nervousness. She had arrived a few months ago, having transferred from another town. This school was unfamiliar, and she had spent her first days quietly observing, learning the rhythms of the new environment. She had noticed how the social circles formed almost instantly, how some students seemed untouchable and how others lived in the shadows, careful not to attract attention. Now dressed in a carefully chosen outfit that made her feel confident, she stepped into the gym, trying to blend in while still holding her own space. The moment she entered, a few whispers caught her attention. She could feel eyes on her, some curious, some judgmental. The whispers seemed harmless at first, just background noise of a crowded room. But soon, she realized they were directed at her. A small group of popular students had spotted her. They were laughing quietly at her dress, the way she carried herself, even the way she smiled. It was subtle, but she noticed it immediately. The sting of it surprised her. She wasn't used to being looked at in that way, the kind that made her feel exposed. She took a deep breath, reminding herself why she was there. This night was supposed to be fun, a break from the tension of school life, a night to enjoy herself. She smiled politely and walked past the group, focusing on finding a spot near her friends. But the whispers didn't stop. Each step felt heavier as she could hear bits of their comments meant to embarrass her. She tried to ignore them to keep her head high and not let their judgment affect her. Inside, she felt a mixture of anger and hurt, but she kept her composure, showing nothing outwardly as she made her way through the crowd. She noticed other students giving her quick glances, some friendly, some curious. A few offered polite nods or smiles, welcoming her into the space. That small kindness made her feel slightly better, a reminder that not everyone was caught up in cruelty. She found her friends near the edge of the dance floor, who greeted her warmly. They had been waiting for her, excited to spend the evening together. Their presence gave her a sense of relief, a bubble of safety in the middle of a room full of strangers and judgment. Despite the comfort of her friends, the whispers persisted. Every now and then, she could hear snickers, the faint sound of someone making fun of her from across the gym. She knew that these moments were brief, but they lingered in her mind. It wasn't just about the words. It was about being seen as an outsider, someone different, someone to be picked on. She had faced challenges before, but this was different. She wanted to enjoy the night without tension, but the undercurrent of mockery made her tense. The lights dimmed slightly, signaling the start of the first dance. Couples began to move toward the center, holding hands, spinning lightly to the music. She watched for a moment, letting herself get lost in the rhythm, the collective joy of the room. Her friends encouraged her to join in, and she allowed herself to sway to the music, feeling a bit lighter. For a few moments, the whispers faded into the background. She felt almost normal, almost like she belonged, even if just for a little while. But then, one of the students from the popular group approached. She tried to smile politely, expecting perhaps a friendly greeting or an introduction. Instead, the student leaned in slightly and whispered something cruel, a remark about her appearance that cut deeper than she expected. She forced a smile, her heart pounding, trying not to show her reaction. Inside, she felt a rush of frustration, a mix of hurt and anger, but she kept her calm exterior. She didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing her upset. She moved away, focusing on her friends, trying to let the moment pass. She reminded herself that this night was hers too, that she didn't have to let anyone else's opinions dictate her feelings. She had faced challenges before, and she was used to overcoming adversity. Still, the experience stung. It was a reminder that no matter how strong or confident she felt, there would always be people trying to bring her down. She clenched her fists briefly under the table, letting herself acknowledge her feelings without showing them. The DJ started a slow song, and couples began pairing off again. Her friends encouraged her to dance with someone she liked, or simply to move with them for fun. She hesitated, aware that some eyes were still on her, watching her every move. The pressure of being observed was heavy, but she didn't want to let it ruin her night. She took a deep breath and allowed herself to move with the music, her body following the rhythm she had learned from countless hours of practice in other contexts. Dancing had always been a way for her to feel free, to express herself without words. As the song continued, she noticed a few students approaching, not from the popular group, but others who had seen her confidence and wanted to join her in enjoying the evening. They complimented her dress, asked her to dance, and laughed at the funny moments she shared. These small interactions reminded her that she wasn't completely alone, that there were people who appreciated her presence, who didn't judge her based on superficial things. It was a comfort, a reminder that kindness could be found even in a crowded and chaotic environment. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling of being judged, of having her every move analyzed by those who wanted to bring her down. She reminded herself of her own worth, the skills and experiences that defined her outside of this moment. She thought about the years she had spent training in the gym, the discipline, the perseverance, the way she had faced challenges head-on. Those thoughts gave her a quiet strength, shield against the ridicule that attempted to pierce her confidence. Time passed, and the night progressed with its mix of laughter, music, and occasional whispers. She kept herself composed, joining her friends in small moments of joy, clapping along to the music, laughing at funny incidents, and enjoying the celebratory atmosphere. The whispers continued, but she was learning to let them slide off her, to focus on the moments that brought her happiness rather than the ones that sought to diminish it. By the end of the first part of the night, she had begun to find a rhythm, a way to exist in the space without being completely affected by the cruelty around her. She was aware of the challenges that still awaited her, but she also recognized her own resilience. This night was a test, not just of her social skills, but of her inner strength. She walked with her head held high, determined to enjoy the night, to find moments of joy amidst the tension, and to remain true to herself, no matter what others thought. Even as the first dances concluded and new groups formed on the dance floor, she stood her ground, quietly confident that she could handle whatever came next. She was a newcomer, yes, but she was not defenseless. There was more to her than met the eye, and she carried that knowledge like a secret shield. With each passing moment, she felt a growing sense of self-assurance, ready to face the next part of the night with courage and grace, knowing that her story was just beginning and that her strength would soon reveal itself in ways that no one at the prom could anticipate. As the evening wore on, the atmosphere in the gym began to shift slightly. The music thumped steadily, a mix of slow dances and upbeat songs, keeping the energy high. Students moved around, some laughing with friends, some sharing quiet moments in corners, and others trying to get attention from the crowd. Among them, the new girl was still navigating the complex social landscape of the prom, aware of the whispers and laughter that followed her, yet determined to enjoy herself. She had just returned from the dance floor after a slow song, trying to let herself relax when the group of popular students approached again. They smiled, but it was the kind of smile that didn't reach the eyes, the kind that carried a hidden edge. One of them leaned slightly toward her and made a comment about how her dress didn't really fit the style of the evening. It was a small remark, but deliberate, meant to make her feel out of place. She could hear the faint laughter from their friends behind them. Her stomach tightened, but she forced a calm smile and nodded politely, not giving them the reaction they hoped for. Despite her composed exterior, her mind was racing. She had faced judgment before, had been the subject of criticism in different environments. But there was something different about this. The comments were public, and there was an expectation that she would respond, that she would falter in front of everyone. But she reminded herself that this night was hers too, that she didn't owe anyone an explanation or a reaction. She took a deep breath and stepped away, moving toward the refreshment table where her friends were gathered. Her friends greeted her warmly, sensing the tension in her expression. They didn't need words. They understood enough to offer a comforting presence. One of them nudged her slightly, joking about the music and encouraging her to grab a drink. She smiled, grateful for the small gesture, letting herself focus on something simple and ordinary in the middle of the chaos around her. The refreshments gave her a moment to catch her breath, to center herself, and to gather her thoughts. But the relief was short-lived. As she sipped her drink, she noticed the popular group watching her from across the room. They whispered among themselves, occasionally glancing in her direction, clearly amused by her attempts to ignore them. She felt a flash of anger, but also a strange determination. She wasn't going to let these students dictate her feelings or ruin her night. She knew her own strength, even if they didn't, and she decided to channel her emotions into confidence rather than fear. A slow song began, and couples formed small circles on the dance floor. She could see pairs laughing, twirling, and holding hands, enjoying the music without a care. Her friends encouraged her to join in, and she reluctantly moved toward the floor, letting the rhythm guide her. Each step, each sway, became a small act of defiance, a way of asserting her presence without confrontation. She felt the eyes on her again, but focused on the music and the movement, letting the dance carry her attention away from the whispers. As she danced, one of the bullies attempted a more direct approach. They bumped into her deliberately, pretending it was accidental, but the intent was clear. The room seemed to pause for a fraction of a second, a hush settling over nearby students who noticed the tension. She didn't flinch, didn't react outwardly, but internally, her awareness sharpened. She knew that standing her ground was important, that letting them see fear or frustration would only encourage more attempts at humiliation. The bullies laughed quietly among themselves, not expecting any resistance, but she continued to move gracefully, her confidence growing with each step. Now the music became a shield, each note a reminder that she had her own rhythm, her own strength, and her own story that didn't need validation from anyone else. Students began to notice her calmness, the way she carried herself despite the subtle attacks. Some nodded in quiet approval, while others whispered among themselves. Sensing that this new girl was not someone to be underestimated, she finally stepped away from the dance floor, letting her friends take the lead in joining the next group of dancers. She wandered toward the edge of the room, taking in the scene. Balloons and streamers hung from the ceiling. The lights flickered softly with the music, and the energy of the night was contagious. For a moment she allowed herself to breathe, to enjoy the beauty of the decorated gym, the laughter, and the collective joy of her peers. It was a reminder that even amidst tension and ridicule, there were moments worth savoring. Her thoughts drifted briefly to her own life outside school. She had a discipline that few could imagine, a dedication that had shaped her into someone resilient. Years of training, hours spent learning control, balance, and strength, of that prepared her for challenges like this. She realized that the bullies didn't know the depths of her abilities or the fire that lay beneath her calm exterior. This gave her a quiet sense of power, a realization that she didn't need to prove herself in this moment. She was already capable of handling whatever came her way. Suddenly, one of the bullies tried to corner her near the snack table, making a snide comment loud enough for others to hear. She looked directly at them, her eyes calm and steady, betraying none of the tension she felt. Her composure caught them off guard. They expected fear or embarrassment, but instead, they saw someone who was self-assured, someone who was not going to crumble under pressure. The moment hung in the air, the whispers of amusement fading slightly as the balance of power shifted, if only for a moment. Other students began to take notice. Whispers turned into glances of curiosity, some of admiration. The new girl's presence was commanding, not through loud words or overt actions, but through a quiet, unshakable confidence. She didn't need to shout or retaliate. Her calm strength was more powerful than anything they could throw at her. She realized that being underestimated was an advantage. People assumed she was fragile or easy to provoke, but they had no idea of the depth of her determination and the skills she had honed over the years. She moved back toward her friends, who were unaware of the subtle confrontation that had just taken place. They laughed and chatted, excited about the night and sharing stories of their own small triumphs. Being with them gave her a sense of normalcy, a reminder that she wasn't alone in navigating the complex social environment. She smiled genuinely for the first time in a while, feeling the warmth of friendship and the small victories of maintaining her composure. The DJ changed the song again. It's time to a lively track that encouraged movement and interaction. Students, flooded the floor, forming circles and chains of dancers, their energy infectious. She joined in hesitantly at first, then more freely, letting the rhythm guide her movements. With each step, she felt a growing sense of control, a reclaiming of the night that had initially felt threatening. Her focus was on the music, the camaraderie, and the small victories of maintaining dignity in the face of subtle cruelty. A few other students approached her, curious about her presence and impressed by the way she handled herself. They complimented her dress, her confidence, and her dance moves. The new girl felt a surge of validation, not from defeating her bullies, but from being recognized for who she was in that moment. It was a reminder that there were allies in unexpected places, people who saw beyond superficial appearances and acknowledged genuine courage. The popular group, noticing that their attempts at humiliation were failing, seemed frustrated, whispered among themselves, trying to figure out how to regain control of the narrative. But she ignored them, focused instead on enjoying the rest of the evening, building connections with those who appreciated her and staying true to herself. Each smile, each laugh, and each step on the dance floor was a quiet victory, a testament to her resilience and inner strength. As the night progressed, she realized that the initial humiliation she had feared was not the defining moment. The defining moment was her ability to remain calm, to enjoy herself despite the tension, and to assert her presence without aggression. She was learning that strength didn't always have to be shown in confrontation. Sometimes it was about maintaining dignity, composure, and self-respect in the face of adversity. By the end of this part of the night, she felt a growing sense of empowerment. The whispers had not vanished entirely, but they no longer had the power to shake her. She had discovered a quiet confidence, a resilience that would carry her through the rest of the evening and beyond. She walked with her friends toward the seating area, ready to face whatever came next, knowing that she had already won a significant battle maintaining her strength and presence in a challenging social environment. The music in the gym shifted again, this time to a more upbeat rhythm that encouraged students to move together in groups and circles. The energy was infectious, and most of the students lost themselves in the excitement of the evening. She stood near her friends, watching the movement, feeling a mixture of relief and anticipation. The tension from earlier had not fully disappeared, but she had found a rhythm, a way to exist in the space without being overwhelmed by the whispers and sideways glances from the popular group. She glanced around, noticing students forming small groups, sharing laughs and inside jokes. Some were dancing freely, others chatting quietly near the edges. Decorations, the streamers, and the soft lighting created an atmosphere that was festive and full of possibilities. Even amidst the subtle hostility she had faced, there was a sense of community in the room, moments where people were genuinely enjoying themselves. She took a deep breath and allowed herself to absorb it, letting a small smile slip across her face. Her friends noticed her easing into the evening and encouraged her to join a new dance circle. They held her hand and led her to the center, where others welcomed her presence. It was a small gesture, but it mattered more than she expected. Being included, even in such a simple way, helped her feel grounded. The whispers from the popular group lingered on the edges of her awareness, but she focused on the immediate circle around her, on the laughter and energy that was genuine and welcoming. A few minutes into the dance, one of the bullies tried a new tactic. They deliberately stepped close, brushing past her with a casual arrogance, whispering something meant to provoke a reaction. She felt a flash of irritation, her muscles tensing momentarily, but she reminded herself that reacting would give them power. Instead, she took a steady breath, adjusted her stance, and continued moving with the rhythm of the song. The subtle defiance in her calmness caught their attention. They had expected her to be unsettled, but instead, she remained composed, her confidence quiet yet unmistakable. She found herself thinking about the life she led outside school, the discipline and focus she had developed over the years. Boxing had been a part of her since she was young, a way to build strength, confidence, and resilience. The lessons she learned in the gym, balance, patience, strategy, and control, were not just physical. They shaped her mindset. She knew how to remain calm under pressure, how to anticipate actions, and how to respond when necessary. These skills gave her a hidden edge, a quiet assurance that she carried into every challenging situation, including tonight. Her mind wandered briefly to past competitions she had faced. The nerves before stepping into a match, and the focus required to succeed. Those experiences had taught her that fear and pressure were temporary, and that maintaining control was often more important than reacting impulsively. She realized that the bullies' attempts to humiliate her were minor in comparison to challenges she had already faced. This realization gave her a sense of empowerment, a reminder that she was stronger than the judgments of others. The song ended, and students began moving toward tables and refreshment areas, chatting and laughing. She followed her friends, grateful for the brief respite from the dance floor. They sat together, sipping drinks and sharing stories. The camaraderie offering a comforting contrast to the earlier tension. She felt a small sense of triumph, having navigated the dance and subtle provocations without losing her composure. Each moment of calm resilience built her confidence, reinforcing the quiet strength she carried within. Her attention shifted back to the popular group, who were now observing her more closely. They seemed unsure how to approach her next, their previous tactics having little effect. She noticed the uncertainty in their expressions, a subtle shift in power dynamics. The whispers and laughter had diminished, replaced by cautious curiosity. It was a small victory, but it mattered. She realized that the perception of strength was often as powerful as strength itself, and that her calm, unwavering demeanor was making an impression. She decided to take a short walk around the gym, observing the decorations, the students, and the general flow of the evening. Moving away from the center allowed her to regain perspective, to see the event from a different angle. She noticed students helping each other, sharing snacks, and laughing over small mishaps on the dance floor. It reminded her that even in environments where judgment existed, kindness and connection could still be found. She carried this thought with her, letting it bolster her mood. While walking, she caught sight of a few students from her previous school days, who had transferred to different towns, but were now attending this same event. They waved and smiled, exchanging brief words of recognition. The encounter was brief but meaningful, a reminder of continuity and familiarity in the midst of a new, sometimes intimidating environment. She felt a warm sense of comfort, knowing that there were friendly faces scattered throughout the room, people who could offer support if needed. Returning to her friends, she noticed that some students had started forming small groups near the edges of the gym, sharing conversations and light laughter. The atmosphere, while still energetic, had grown slightly more relaxed. She joined a conversation, sharing a funny story from earlier in the day, and was met with genuine laughter and interest. The interaction reminded her of the simple joys of connection, and she felt her spirits lift. The night was no longer solely about navigating judgment. It was also about enjoying these small moments of genuine interaction. Suddenly, one of the bullies made a louder attempt, stepping closer and making a remark intended for all nearby students to hear. She looked directly at them, her eyes steady and calm, betraying none of her irritation. The moment hung in the air for a brief second, the surrounding students noticing the tension. Then, she simply smiled politely and moved past them, refusing to give them the reaction they sought. The subtle strength in her behavior caused a ripple of whispers, this time tinged with surprise rather than amusement. She returned to the dance floor for a while, letting the music guide her movements. The rhythm provided a kind of escape, a way to express herself without words. As she danced, she became aware of a few students watching, their curiosity evident. Some whispered to each other, clearly noticing her confidence and grace. The awareness was gratifying, not because she sought validation, but because it reinforced the quiet power she had always known she possessed. She was no longer just a target of whispers. She had become someone who commanded respect simply by remaining composed. After a few more songs, she stepped aside again, taking a moment to reflect on the evening so far. The initial humiliation she had feared had not occurred in the way she expected. She had faced subtle provocations, handled them with calmness, and even gained a sense of quiet authority in the eyes of her peers. Each small action reinforced her self-assurance, reminding her that true strength often lay in patience, composure, and the ability to navigate difficult situations without losing oneself, she thought about how different this night could have been if she had allowed fear or anger to dictate her actions. She realized that her ability to remain calm, to focus on her friends, and to enjoy moments of joy had transformed the evening into something positive. The bullies' attempts to diminish her had not succeeded, and she felt a growing sense of empowerment. This was more than just surviving a social challenge. It was about asserting her presence and integrity in a subtle but undeniable way. As the night continued, she moved between the dance floor, her friends, and quiet corners of the gym. Each interaction, each choice to remain composed and true to herself, reinforced her inner strength. She noticed that other students were beginning to recognize this quiet authority, the way she navigated the environment with confidence and grace. It was a reminder that true respect is earned through actions and demeanor, not loud words or confrontations. By the end of this part of the evening, she felt a renewed sense of self-assurance. The whispers and snickers that had once haunted her were now background noise, insignificant compared to the strength she had demonstrated. She had learned that maintaining composure, finding allies, and embracing moments of joy were powerful tools in navigating social challenges. The night was far from over. She knew there would be more moments that tested her patience and resilience, but she felt ready. She walked with her friends toward a quieter area. Reflecting on the subtle victories of the evening and the quiet power she carried, within herself, the atmosphere in the gym had grown more dynamic as the night progressed. Music echoed through the large room, alternating between slow dances and fast-paced songs that drew students to the floor. Laughter and chatter intertwined with the beats, creating a lively backdrop for the events unfolding. She stayed near her friends, aware of the subtle glances from the popular group, but feeling more confident in her ability to handle them. Each passing moment strengthened her sense of self, reminding her that the night was hers to enjoy. She watched the dance floor, noticing how groups of students interacted. Couples swayed to the music, friends formed small circles, and everyone seemed caught up in their own little worlds. Despite the occasional whispers from the popular group, she felt a growing sense of control over her own experience. She had learned to navigate the subtle provocations without letting them dominate her thoughts. Each movement, each choice, was a conscious decision to maintain her composure and focus on the positive aspects of the evening. The popular group, sensing that their earlier attempts had little effect, decided to escalate. One of them, attempting to make a dramatic impression, deliberately bumped into her as she moved past, causing her to stumble slightly. The gym seemed to pause for a moment, students nearby noticing the deliberate action. She steadied herself immediately, her calm reaction contrasting sharply with the expected response of fear or embarrassment. Her eyes met theirs, steady and unyielding, and for a moment, the confidence in her demeanor silenced the intended mockery. A hush passed over the nearby students, who were taken aback by the boldness and composure she displayed. The bully's strategy relied on provoking reactions, but she offered none. Instead, she continued her movement as if nothing had happened, letting the rhythm of the music guide her. It was a small but powerful display of self-control, a demonstration that she would not be easily shaken or intimidated. The subtle shift in energy around her was noticeable. Whispers of amusement gave way to surprise and curiosity. Her thoughts drifted briefly to her life outside school. Boxing had taught her discipline, patience, and the importance of strategy. Every match, every training session, reinforced lessons in maintaining composure under pressure. These skills now translated into her social interactions, giving her a quiet confidence that others could sense, even if they did not understand the source. The bullies could not know the depth of her experience, the years of practice that shaped her ability to remain calm and poised. The DJ transitioned to a more upbeat track, drawing students back to the dance floor. She followed her friends, moving in time with the music, letting the rhythm provide a shield against the lingering tension. Her body moved naturally, the result of hours of disciplined training in balance and coordination. Each step was deliberate, yet fluid, projecting confidence without aggression. Those watching could not help but notice the ease and assurance in her movements, contrast to the tentative steps of others. During one particularly lively song, the popular group attempted another subtle challenge. They formed a small circle near the edge of the dance floor, making snide comments just loud enough for her to hear. She paused briefly, her mind calculating the best response. The temptation to react was there, but she knew that any outward, the display of irritation would give them the satisfaction they sought. Instead, she smiled politely and continued dancing, letting her calm confidence speak louder than words.
Loudly.
The observers around her began to notice the quiet power in her actions. She took a brief break from the dance floor, moving toward a quieter corner where she could catch her breath and observe the room. Her friends joined her, and they shared laughs about small incidents from earlier in the evening. The camaraderie was refreshing, reminding her that she was not alone in navigating the challenges of social dynamics. The supportive presence of her friends created a buffer against the lingering hostility of the popular group, allowing her to regain perspective and strength. As she stood with her friends, one of the bullies approached again, attempting a more direct confrontation. They leaned slightly, making a comment meant to provoke, but she remained steady. Her eyes met theirs, unwavering and calm, and she simply nodded politely before moving on. The subtle defiance in her composure caught the bully off guard, and the brief moment of uncertainty in their expression signaled a shift. Others in the gym noticed, some exchanging whispers about the confidence she displayed. She realized that her strength was now being recognized, not through confrontation, but through the quiet assertion of her presence. She returned to the dance floor with renewed energy, letting the music guide her movements. Each step was a small act of empowerment, a reminder that she controlled her own experience. The whispers and snickers of the past seemed to fade into the background as she focused on enjoying the moment. The subtle authority she projected began to influence those around her, drawing attention not through loud actions, but through composed confidence and grace. Her mind wandered briefly to the lessons she had learned from boxing. Patience, strategy, and control were essential both in the ring and in life. She understood the importance of choosing the right moments to act and the value of maintaining composure under pressure. These lessons now applied to the social challenges of the evening, allowing her to navigate the subtle provocations with poise. She felt a sense of pride in how she had handled the situation so far, knowing that true strength often revealed itself quietly as the night progressed. More students began to notice her presence. Some approached her with friendly smiles. Others exchanged nods of acknowledgement. The recognition was not for her appearance, but for the confidence and composure she displayed. It was a subtle form of respect, earned through actions rather than words. She felt a quiet satisfaction, understanding that her demeanor had shifted. The perception of those around her, including the popular group that had initially tried to undermine her. A slow song began, drawing couples to the center of the dance floor. She and her friends joined in, moving together with the rhythm. The music created a sense of unity, a moment where differences and judgments faded into the background. She allowed herself to relax into the movement, enjoying the shared experience. Each step was a reaffirmation of her ability to remain composed, to engage fully in the moment, and to assert her presence without confrontation. During the song, one of the bullies attempted a final provocation, deliberately stepping into her space. She paused briefly, meeting their gaze calmly. Surrounding students noticed the interaction, the subtle tension in the air. Then, she simply smiled and continued dancing, refusing to let the attempt disrupt her experience. The bully stepped back, frustrated and uncertain, while she remained steady and composed. The moment highlighted the quiet power of restraint and self-control. After the dance ended, she moved toward her friends, who were clapping and laughing. They congratulated her on handling the evening so well, and she felt a warm sense of validation. The small victories, the subtle assertions of strength, had accumulated throughout the night, reinforcing her confidence. She realized that she had navigated the challenges of the prom with grace and composure, demonstrating a quiet authority that few had anticipated. The night continued with a mix of dancing, conversations, and light-hearted moments. She remained aware of the popular group but no longer felt intimidated. Her confidence had shifted the dynamic, and the bullies' attempts at humiliation had lost their power. She moved through the evening with a sense of control, focusing on the joy and connections she shared with her friends. The experience reinforced her understanding that true strength lay in composure, patience, and the ability to assert oneself without aggression. By the end of this part of the evening, she felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The subtle challenges, the whispers, and the attempted provocations had all been navigated successfully. She had maintained her composure, asserted her presence, and found moments of genuine enjoyment amidst the tension. The lessons of resilience, confidence, and strategic calm had proven valuable, and she walked with her friends toward a quieter area of the gym, ready for the final part of the night. She knew that the true test of her strength was yet to come, but she felt prepared, confident in her abilities, and aware of the quiet power she carried within herself. The night was reaching its final hours, but the energy in the gym remained high. Music continued to pulse through the room, though the tempo had slowed slightly, signaling the approach of the evening's end. Students were beginning to gather in, small groups sharing stories about the dances, the decorations, and the memorable moments they had witnessed. Amidst the excitement and chatter, she moved with her friends, reflecting on everything that had happened since she had first entered the gym, the initial tension, the subtle provocations, and the whispers that had followed her had all transformed into lessons in resilience and quiet strength. She glanced around the room, noticing familiar faces and the connections she had made throughout the evening. Some students she had never spoken to before were now smiling at her, acknowledging her presence in a friendly way. The social landscape of the night had shifted subtly, and she could sense that her quiet confidence had left an impression. Even the popular group, who had initially tried to undermine her, seemed more cautious, uncertain how to approach her after witnessing her composure and self-assurance. As the music shifted to a slow, reflective tune, couples naturally moved to the center of the dance floor. She and her friends joined in, swaying gently to the rhythm. The gentle motion allowed her to take a deep breath and appreciate the beauty of the evening. The lights shimmered softly on the gym walls, reflecting the energy and warmth of the students around her. For the first time, she felt a sense of ownership over the night. A realization that despite the initial challenges, she had created her own space within the crowd. The bullies, who had tried repeatedly to provoke her, approached once more. Their expressions revealed a mix of frustration and curiosity, as if they were finally beginning to understand that she was not someone to be easily intimidated. They whispered among themselves, casting glances her way, but she met their eyes calmly, unflinching. The tension between them was palpable, yet she remained composed, refusing to engage in their attempts at humiliation. The power in the room had subtly shifted, with her calm confidence quietly asserting itself over their expected dominance. Her mind drifted briefly to her years of training outside school. Boxing had taught her not only physical strength, but also patience, strategy, and the ability to remain calm under pressure. She had faced countless challenges in the gym, each one preparing her for moments like this, where maintaining composure and making thoughtful choices mattered more than immediate reactions. The lessons from her training were now proving invaluable, helping her navigate the social dynamics of the prom with grace and poise. As the night progressed, she found herself moving between the dance floor and quieter corners, engaging in light conversations with students who had approached her. Some shared compliments, others expressed admiration for the way she had handled the subtle provocations. She responded with genuine smiles and polite words, creating connections that were built on respect rather than superficial impressions. These interactions reinforced her sense of belonging and confidence, reminding her that the evening was not defined by the bullies' attempts to diminish her, but by the meaningful moments she had created. The DJ shifted to a more upbeat track, encouraging students to return to the center of the gym. She and her friends joined the crowd, moving with the rhythm and energy. Each movement was an affirmation of her strength, a subtle display of self-assurance that was noticed by those around her. Students began to recognize that she carried herself differently, the quiet authority that drew attention without seeking it. The whispers of amusement from earlier had faded, replaced by a mix of curiosity and respect. During one particularly lively song, a small incident occurred on the dance floor. A student accidentally bumped into her, causing her to stumble slightly. In the past, such moments might have been embarrassing or frustrating, but she handled it with ease, steadying herself immediately and offering a friendly smile. The surrounding students noticed, and some whispered to each other, impressed by her calm reaction. The moment, though minor, was another demonstration of the quiet confidence she had cultivated throughout the evening. She took a brief break from the center of the dance floor, moving toward the refreshment table with her friends. They chatted about the events of the night, laughing at small mishaps and recalling funny moments. The conversation was lighthearted and comforting, a reminder of the simple joys that existed even in challenging social environments. She felt a sense of relief and satisfaction, knowing that she had navigated the evening successfully, maintaining her composure while still finding moments of joy. Her attention shifted to the popular group once more. They observed her from a distance, clearly aware that their previous attempts at humiliation had failed. There was a subtle acknowledgement in their expressions, a recognition that she was not someone to underestimate. This realization reinforced her confidence further, a reminder that quiet strength could be more impactful than loud displays of dominance. She smiled inwardly, understanding that the night had become a testament to her resilience and poise. As the final songs played, she moved with her friends to the center of the gym, joining a group of students in a circle dance. The shared energy and laughter created a sense of community and belonging. She felt fully present, enjoying the moment without distraction or fear. The experiences of the night, the whispers, the challenges, the moments of doubt had all contributed to a deeper understanding of her own strength and resilience. She realized that she had not only survived the social challenges, but had also asserted her presence and earned the respect of those around her. The bullies attempted one subtle provocation, stepping close and whispering comments meant to elicit a reaction. She met their gaze calmly, offering a polite nod before turning her attention back to her friends and the dance. The lack of response visibly unsettled them, and they stepped away, unsure of how to proceed. The power dynamic had shifted completely. She was no longer the target of ridicule, but a figure of quiet authority, respected for her composure and self-assurance. She reflected on the growth she had experienced throughout the evening. The initial nervousness and fear had transformed into confidence and empowerment. She had navigated social challenges, maintained her dignity, and found moments of genuine connection and joy. Each decision to remain calm, each step taken with intention, had reinforced her sense of self and her ability to influence the perceptions of those around her. The night had become a lesson in resilience, patience, and quiet strength. As the final moments of the prom approached, students gathered for pictures, group hugs, and farewells. She joined her friends, capturing memories and sharing laughter. The festive atmosphere was filled with a sense of accomplishment and camaraderie. She felt proud of how she had handled the evening, understanding that her actions had not only protected her dignity, but had also subtly shifted the social dynamics in her favor. The experience had strengthened her confidence and reinforced her belief in the power of composure and resilience. Walking out of the gym with her friends, she felt a profound sense of achievement. The night had tested her in ways she had not anticipated, yet she had navigated every challenge with grace and quiet authority. The whispers and attempts at humiliation no longer held power over her. Instead, they had become moments of reflection and growth. She had emerged stronger, more confident, and fully aware of the strength she carried within herself. The cool night air greeted them as they left the gym, a refreshing contrast to the heat and energy inside. They laughed and recounted their favorite moments, the bonds of friendship strengthened by shared experiences. She walked with her head held high, feeling a sense of pride and empowerment that extended beyond the walls of the prom. The evening had been a journey of resilience, courage, and quiet strength, and she had navigated it with grace, leaving a lasting impression on those around her. By the time they reached their cars, the energy of the night had transformed from excitement to contentment. She reflected on the journey she had undertaken from nervous newcomer to a figure of composure and quiet authority. The bully's attempts to humiliate her had failed, replaced by respect and recognition. She realized that the true measure of strength was not in confrontation, but in maintaining dignity, composure, and self-assurance in the face of challenges. As they drove away, she felt a renewed sense of confidence. Ready to face the next chapter of her life with the same resilience and quiet power she had shown at the prom.